Mike, do you want to
Jake,
know? Do you know what today is? Today's a very important today. Today is one of the most important days of the year. Do you want to know what today is?
tell me what today is because I have.
Today's it's very important. I can't believe you don't know this. It's my anniversary. It's my 15th anniversary.
Oh, well,
Very important.
congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
15
Thank you.
years is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you got planned?
Uh
Don't say nothing.
so let's move let's move on. Oh god, I had all these plans for the weekend and now it looks like more rain. So
Yeah. Well, while right now we have the best weather in the country, as
mhm,
far as I can tell, right? Everyone else is hurricane force winds and tornadoes and floods and high heat. Here it just won't quit raining and the
right.
sun won't stay out. So I'm really looking forward to consistently hitting 70 degrees. And that's a low bar to meet, but we got to hit that.
Oh, yes.
Everybody else
Well,
in the country's going, "Oh my God, that sounds good."
Hey, on the cybery things, that was a
Mm,
really good panel that Mike Simon and Elise did yesterday on securing the home network.
that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, and you surprised us by being in the chat and answering questions. Boy, there was a lot of engagement on that. And that reminds me, if folks want if you didn't come and you haven't gotten a follow up email and you want the deck with the checklist of what IT managers and CIOs and CISOs should be thinking about if you have remote employees, shoot me an email, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, this is great guidance. And, we battle tested this because, our disaster recovery plan had analysts all going home. We had to have very specific instructions on the controls, including physical security and cameras and things like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is good advice.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very, very important stuff. All right, Mike. There's a lot in the blast this week. What
Yeah.
happened?
Okay, here we go. This is interesting. A bunch of credit unions in Canada were all hit at once. And it looks like ransomware, and they say no records were affected. Okay. But no one is calling out the MSP that serves them all, Solero Systems. Remember, there was a warning about this a couple of weeks ago. MSPs are being targeted. You remember that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, I don't know that nobody's calling it out. I looked it up, and just as you were talking about it, I see a couple of folks that brought up Solero Systems, and they
Mhm.
said, they did say, yeah, that they had a breach. Uh, and we did an urgent panel about this, and it's one of the things that people have said about the CISA warnings is, are they crying wolf? Is there too much? Like,
Yeah.
what's up? So maybe this one was more accurate than some folks thought, right?
Yeah. Well, on that particular story, I've asked the author, which is the CBC in Canada,
Hmm.
why there was no mention or no speculation even that the common MSP could have been the cause of this. But I got a response this morning that just said, "Hey, if you have any more information about this, let me
I mean,
know."
is it? Do we know if it is if it is
No,
is?
it looks like that, right?
Mm,
And I'm just surprised nobody even speculated, hey, the reason all these credit unions got hit at once and they all have a common managed service provider might be connected. You say you have seen something that suggests that?
what I saw was that that it was called out as that Solero, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
Did say that they had did have an event of some sort
Yeah.
in a couple of articles. So
Well, sounds obvious to me. And Solero is that's the Canadian pronunciation of it.
do you know that for sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. So on Russia, we're sending heavy artillery to Ukraine, right? And there's speculation that there may be retaliation for this. The article pointed out that Russian priorities suggest this will not be the case, right? There
Hmm.
will not retaliate with cyber means because we're sending heavy artillery. That was
Hmm.
based on the similarity of weapons to those already sent. And we just upped that with the $1 billion that just passed for specifically heavier weapons.
Hmm.
So there may be a there coming. U.S. water utilities are being warned again about how vulnerable and critical they are.
Hmm.
You probably saw that Microsoft Exchange servers are being compromised with using the proxy logon vulnerability to deploy Black Cat ransomware. Man, those Exchange servers should have been patched a long time ago. People, come on.
Proxy logon, right?
hmm
I think you said polygon. No, I don't know what you said, but
I have this geometric way of. Okay, all right. Uh, China, what are they doing? China is continuing busily to take over home devices, routers, cable modems, things like that. But they're also going, and they're being used for command and control for their espionage campaigns. Okay,
hmm
your home
hmm
router is being used for that, and now they're going after telecom companies as well by weaponizing vulnerability exploits. And what the narrative in this article is that they've gotten really good at deploying vulnerabilities or deploying exploits against vulnerabilities as soon as they are announced.
hmm
Right. So
and
they got this rapid response team to do this, and that's
and
troubling.
and and by the way, Mike Simon, our CTO, who was in that panel yesterday, sent me something yesterday about connected coffee machines, Chinese connected coffee machines
Yep. Can
sucking up
surveil
your
you.
data. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yep,
right. That's
yeah.
right.
They know that I don't like light roast coffee, that I like medium roast Sumatran coffee.
The reason that article did not make it into the blast
Hmm.
is because it comes from the Epic Times. And I'm not letting the Epic Times put a cookie on my computer. Okay, if that makes sense to you. All right, again, moving on. Costa Rica is an
Hmm.
entire government that's being extorted.
Yeah.
This is new, and apparently they're still on the ropes here. And since we were talking about RSA last week, it turns out, yes, it was indeed a super spreader event. I saw one estimate that was 1 in 5 got sick, and 20% of 25,000 is 5,000 people taken out of the fight, at least temporarily. I hope this information is put to use by upcoming conferences. I see people like, hey, you going to DEF CON? You going to wear a mask? Because in-person conferences are definitely back.
Yeah, I mean they are, and everyone has to manage their own risk at this point.
hmm
I am a fan of in-person conferences. I'm speaking to a non-in-person conference today with Tribal Hub, tribal organizations, and I wish it was in person.
hmm
But I mean, there's risk there. There's
Right.
risk.
Yeah. So those are a bunch of the big stories, some of them.
Hmm.
One more on Russia. This is great. We've gotten an inkling of what DoD has been doing in Ukraine. So General Nakasone is the head of Cyber Command.
Mm-hmm.
And what he says is that they're involved in a series of operations across the spectrum, including both offensive, defensive, and information operations, which, of course, coming out and saying this stuff out loud, right, prompted Russia to say cyber conflict could turn into war in the real world.
I
You
mean, and
know,
they're saying it with increasing frequency, right? I
yeah.
mean, that's worrisome.
Well, I don't think the nukes are going to start raining down anytime soon.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. Especially where we live. But if something's going to happen, I think the cybering will start first.
There's already a lot of cybering. I don't know that that makes me feel better, Mike. But switching it up a bit, there were a couple of articles about how cyber practitioners are getting exhausted and giving up.
hmm hmm
That worries me.
There were a couple along those lines. Yeah,
Hmm.
the unrelenting threat of ransomware is pushing cybersecurity workers to quit,
Hmm.
which is what we don't need as a country. But which frankly validates the value proposition of both managed security, what we do, and the pipeline of analysts that we've set up through the Pisces nonprofit, right?
Hmm.
So the other problem is that the macroeconomics are causing cybersecurity companies to lay people off.
Hmm.
I don't want to name names, but some of those companies are really gutting their employee base to cut down their burn rate. And at the same time, valuation multiples have gone way down. So if you're tracking anything like Hack, the ETF for cyber stocks, it's
Hmm.
lost 20% of its value. I mean, like everything, right? It's the macroeconomics.
Yeah, I mean, now that interest rates are rising in order to decrease demand and consumption, there's going to be a lot of belt tightening, and we've seen that in many industries, but cyber is included in that, and every company has some different stories there. The good thing is, many economists say if rising interest rates, cause a recession, it'll be short and not as painful as the others, because the fundamentals of the economy are strong. People are spending. I just saw something that gas is expensive, but
Yeah.
it's not. But people are not slowing down their summer travel.
We have the cheapest gas in the world.
Yeah,
That's, I
well,
think, interesting for people to keep in mind, right? Um, you know, well, and one more on employee stuff. With the churn obvious in employment and, other world events spiraling downward, employees continue to be key risk vectors and
hmm
are being increasingly targeted based on their role in the organization and the perceived ability to access valuable, sensitive data, intellectual property, whatever. And we've talked before about how some are being bribed to introduce malware into an organization.
hmm
So it's getting harder to trust everyone.
it sure is. I read that. I read that one, and it's good that we spend so much energy creating a culture that people enjoy
You mean
here at
here?
critical
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
here
Hmm.
here at critical and no here on LinkedIn. No, here
No, not on LinkedIn.
here here at the company. I mean, I don't know if we ever really made this public, but like, our analysts, work 3 on, 4 off with
Hmm.
12-hour shifts. They love it. Work here, get 4-day weekends, and do, have a culture where, we're protecting and defending,
The stuff
critical
that's important.
organizations, the
Yeah.
stuff that's important. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
Four
what
day
we do.
weekend every week sounds good to me. How come we can't do that? Maybe I should be an analyst.
Maybe you shouldn't have founded the company.
I think that sometimes.
Hmm.
Again, moving on. Let's talk about surveillance just a little bit. Interesting surveillance articles this week. A U.S. defense contractor is in talk to buy the NSO surveillance technology. Remember
Mhm.
Pegasus, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
L3 Harris may make the buy, and now we have to worry about that domestically.
Mhm.
This is interesting too. This is a 10-day-old article or something like that. Survey says that the driver for American unease with surveillance is not the technology itself or the capabilities. They're more concerned about who is in power, how the technology may be used by the other side. That's the
Mhm.
biggest concern.
Uh, Given where we are politically, that's not a surprise.
Yeah, nice understatement. Okay, and one more just quick factoid. The market for surveillance products is being driven by governments, right? They're the ones who want the tools. Okay. That right there tells you that this stuff can be abused if it isn't regulated like crazy. You know, I mean, there's a lot of countries that are just not going to regulate that stuff. But if it's going to land on our doorstep, Congress, you better get going here. I don't I don't think half the Congress wants anything to do with that, frankly. Um, there is a Senate bill that would ban data brokers from selling location and health data, and I can't believe it was ever legal to buy that stuff in the first place. But I think the lawyers in Congress found out, because everybody in Congress, it's not a scientist, it's not a technologist, they're lawyers, right? I think they finally figured out that we can buy their location data too. So this is legislation for self-preservation, I think. Are you talking on mute?
Oh, yeah, I am. My headphone came unplugged, so it wasn't
Oh,
mute. It
sure.
was
Oh, sure.
unplugged.
I see. I see.
I pulled a mic. All right, Mike. Threats and vulns. What do you got?
Okay. Did we talk about the Linux malware that's super sneaky that attaches
Mm-mm.
itself to shared libraries? I think last week, maybe. Okay. Well, if not, that's going to be a concern for a while, right? It basically turns every running process into malware because it attaches to the shared libraries, right? Bluetooth can be used to track cell phones with high accuracy. It turns out if you just use phone data, like the stuff you can buy, you can't get a location that's accurate to more than 20 meters or something like that. This takes it down to a few feet. right? And everybody's like beaconing all the time, so it's easy to do. Microsoft 0 days have just been patched, so reboot your computers. Uh, MIT researchers found that there's a problem in Apple M1 CPU chips that can't be patched. It uses, remember what speculative execution attacks are, right? You to bypass a memory protection mechanism. They're trying to figure out what comes next, and they finally get it. A Cloudflare stopped a giant DDoS attack, which isn't that interesting. But what they say is it came from a botnet of about 5,000 devices, which is really, it's tiny. But the technique used was able to really amplify, so that danger is out there. Iranian actors are using DNS hijacking. So make sure you know who you're talking to. If it says B of A, it might not be B of A. There's a backdoor in Mitel IP phones for businesses, and I know there's a lot of government agencies that use local governments that use Mitel phones. This one's not good. It will give an attacker root access on the devices, so somebody owns your phones. Ain't good. Carrier has industrial control systems that are vulnerable that allow an attacker to take full system control. And these are a lot of these are building management, right? Carrier is famous for HVAC. So the vulnerability includes the ability to unlock doors at will.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the big ones. But as always, update Chrome and Android.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Mike, we're out of time here. Leave everyone with a story that makes them smile. What do you got for the kicker?
Well, this makes me smile, but I'm a little weird. Did we talk about the Goodwill ransomware? I don't think we did. So this has been happening in India, and I think this is a sign of things to come. So there's this variant of ransomware, right? It's been detected in India, and what it doesn't extort victims to like pay us money, pay us cryptocurrency. It makes victims go donate new clothes to the homeless, feed kids in pizza outlets, and provide financial help to anyone who needs urgent medical attention but can't afford it. Okay. So I will say I am 100% behind that, depending on what the target of the ransomware is, right? Hospitals are not okay. So there's that.
Wait, what would be okay?
Dark money packs, but they're not in India.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Okay. See you next
Celebrate
week.
my anniversary. Okay.
Happy
bye.
anniversary, Jake.
Thanks. Bye.